morning, everybody. Welcome to the December 14th, 2021 meeting of the Grafton School Committee. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Amy Marr. I'm the chair this year. We have Laura Often and Jennifer Connolly here. Elizabeth Spinney will be joining us. And this is what you get for tonight. We have a concert going on over at the high school. So I know that one of our student reps is in it, and Liz Spinney is watching her son in it right now, and she'll be joining us when he is finished. Before we get started with the agenda, just kind of as a chair's prerogative, I'd like to take a moment of reflection. Today is 9 years since the tragedy of Sandy Hook and the death of 20 students and staff. So if we could just have a moment of silent reflection. Okay, thank you, everyone. For those of you at home, we have a full house in here, so if you hear everybody get chit-chatty, that's why. We do start with public comment tonight. Do we have any comment from the public? Despite our full house, we do not. Okay, we'll move on to general business. Our first item is very exciting, and probably the reason there's so many people here tonight. We are recognizing our nursing staff, so I'm going to turn it over to Jay.
Great. It's a true honor to be able to introduce our GPS nursing staff to the school committee tonight. We've got Megan Aho, Amy Bowman, Linda Kaya, Jackie Davis, Sarah Dieso, Alex Dunham, Deb Fiore, our birthday girl, Beth Horgan, Sharon Iaquinta, Caitlin Marshall, Elena McCabe, Jean Sudby, Sue Tillotson, Tracy Vella, and Heather Welch. So welcome, everybody. In a normal year, our school nurses work tirelessly doing a million things. Over the past 2 years, our nursing staff has made a normal year look like basically a walk in the park. Under the leadership of Jackie Davis, our nursing coordinator, our nursing staff has collaboratively faced countless challenges beautifully, and they've worked nonstop to expertly handle everything thrown their way, and they continue to do so. Tonight, we wanted to acknowledge their tremendous efforts and to give the school committee an opportunity to recognize this fantastic group of nurses who do so much to keep our students and staff safe. I'll turn it over to the committee.
All right. I'll look to the members of the committee first, if you'd like to go, Jen.
So thank you. I mean, I work in a school district also, and I can see every day how much work is being done from the nursing staff just day in, day out, and just not really catching a break, and it's just hard. So I think, so thank you. I do see it, I recognize it, but, you know, I guess if there's something we can do, let us know, but I just know it's not easy. That's really it.
Yeah, no, I'll echo what Jen says. I want to thank you and appreciate you. I know as a parent, I've personally gotten calls over the weekends, late nights, on Fridays, and I know that not only are those calls not easy to make, but you're working all hours of the day and night, and we do know and we do appreciate you so much, and thank you for all that you do to keep our kids healthy and safe and to keep our schools open. We wouldn't probably be able to be here if it wasn't for all of you. So much appreciation from me and the community, and thank you. And it's really just nice to have you here and to be able to say thanks in person. It seems like such a small word, but know that we're here and we know how hard you're working, and if you need grace and understanding and a little bit of love, we're here for that. So thank you.
You said all the things. I do want to say, as a mom and as the school committee chair, I have worried so much less this year than I did last year. Even though this year is rife with new challenges and it's more difficult than last year in some ways. But I know that you folks have, you come every day prepared to work. You come every day prepared to do whatever it takes to keep kids safe, to keep staff safe. And I've worried far less about in-school transmission this year than I did last year. And that's all because of you. You give parents peace of mind. You give students peace of mind. We know that you're capable and confident. And like I said, you bring it every single day, and you really are the heroes here. We could not keep the schools open without all of you, and those of you who couldn't make it tonight as well. So thank you so much. hopefully we're looking at the end of this soon, right? And everybody's going to laugh at me, but hope springs eternal. So keep doing what you're doing, please. We can't do it without you. So thank you so, so much.
We'll clap again.
Oh, we're standing.
Oh, all right. Yes. All right, and as a special bonus, I'd like to introduce Tim Fouth up to the microphone. He's the assistant principal at Grafton Middle School to present an award to one of our wonderful nurses. Jackie Davis, please come forward.
Doing my chivalry on camera
I thought
here.
those were for me. They're very pretty.
Well, thank you to the members of the Central Office and Grafton School Committee for the opportunity to speak tonight. Tonight, we'd like to honor the real and unsung heroes of the Grafton Public Schools, especially during the unprecedented times of the pandemic, our school nurses and their leader, Ms. Jackie Davis. This year, Ms. Davis has been nominated as a Life Changer of the Year. Pandemic or not, she has solidified her reputation as a life changer for students, staff, and families in her illustrious career as a school nurse. Having been the trusted and valued school nurse at Grafton Middle School for many years, she took on the role of nurse coordinator when the pandemic took place. In this role, she has not only thrived in the face of a once-in-a-generation health crisis, but she has done so with grace, professionalism, empathy, and kindness. As busy as the day or situation may be, she continues to keep the Grafton Public Schools a safe and thriving school community. It is certainly well known that the role of a public school nurse has changed exponentially in recent years. Nowadays, nurses not only treat and care for the sick or injured, but they also play the role of counselor, therapist, confidant, friend, teacher, and parent, to just name a few. Ms. Davis has developed an unbelievably high level of trust amongst the staff, students, and families of Grafton. Sometimes people go to her not for medical advice or questions, but just to talk with her. Her level of emotional capacity is off the charts, and she has a deep amount of empathy and understanding that flows through her. Grafton Middle School has undoubtedly become a better place and village because of Jackie, and we like tonight as a special honor and moment to recognize Jackie for her leadership and all of her years in the Grafton Public Schools by presenting you the Certificate of Excellence from the Life Changer of the Year Corporation. Thank you, Jackie. She has to say speech now, right?
No, I mean, I would just recognize, this is really, really nice, but it takes a village. It takes everybody. You know, the nurses appreciate the support. It's been really challenging, especially this year for some reason. But we couldn't do it without all of you either. It really does take everybody. But we do have an amazing team of nurses. We're really, really lucky. That's all. Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Photo op.
Thank
No,
you.
you might want to get in that.
Well, I'm going to my phone. My camera's good.
Nice, thank you. Oh,
Crap, hold
I
on.
have to go up there.
Yes, you do.
And Dr. Cummings,
Oh,
you know the drill.
I mentioned that we were going to do a photo tonight. He was thrilled.
He dressed up. Smile. All right, congratulations.
Thank you, everyone, for coming out tonight.
Thanks, Tim. Yeah, thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Feel free to stay.
Feel free to go.
Or feel free to stay.
them to feel like they have.
No, I know.
But maybe just
I didn't want them to think I was kicking them out. And as our nurses and principals clear out, we have Lisa Rice coming up to the mic. Lisa's our director of,
Lisa is our fantastic literacy coordinator.
There we
Knows
go.
more about literacy than anyone I've ever met. Does a fantastic job day in, day out. Runs quite a bit of our summer programming. Does before school literacy work, after school literacy work. She's 24/7 literacy and knocks it out of the park. So thrilled to have you tonight.
Yeah, thank you for
Thank you
having
for
me.
coming out.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited to share what we've been doing recently in the area of literacy. Before we get into what we're doing here in Grafton, I just wanted to, I love this graphic about what reading is really about. Sometimes, you know, when we read things online or when we talk with others, we sometimes get bogged down in just one part of this. So I just wanted to show this simple view of reading, that it's more than just getting the words right. It's about decoding, which is getting the words right, reading the words, but it's also about our language comprehension with the end goal of reading comprehension, of understanding what we read. So as much as I love this graphic, I love this one even more because it really shows you how complex reading really is, right? Like what all the demands that we have on our students to learn how to read. So each strand is an area of reading in order for students to be able to ultimately comprehend what they're reading. So every time we look at some new programming or we discuss some assessments, we always want to make sure we're touching upon each one of these strands. Sometimes students have the strands in place, but they're not as tight as they should be. Sometimes students have one area of weakness that we've been able to assess and figure that out and provide intervention. Sometimes they have multiple areas of need, and we have to tighten those areas in order for the rope to come together. But this is going to become a staple in any one of my presentations over the last year and a half, because I think this does a really nice job of showing people how complex reading really is. So as we look at our literacy programming here in Grafton Public Schools, we have some foundational staples to help support students to learn to read. We have the Heggerty Phonemic Awareness in K and 1 now. That has come out of all the work done with the state around dyslexia. Phonemic awareness is just hearing and manipulating sounds and words. That's really the basement of the house of reading. That needs to be intact, so we always make sure we assess for it. And every student in kindergarten and first grade receives a daily systematic lesson in this. It's very explicit, and our teachers do such a great job at this level. They value this skill in this program, so they do a wonderful job delivering it. We have foundations. We've had that in district for almost 11 to 12 years. The difference is we now have it in preschool and third grade this year. So we used to just have it, K through 2, which was fantastic. This year, we are seeing it in pre-K all the way up to grade 3. And that's as far as the program goes. So we're excited to be able to roll that out and continue with explicit systematic phonics instruction. We also have Project Read Written Expression K through 6 for our writing. And we follow the Daily 5 Cafe for our reading programming as well. Because again, Foundations is working on our phonics, the first square, but we're really with the Daily 5 and Cafe need to explicitly teach comprehension strategies as well. So when we think about the strands, we want to make sure that we're also assessing all the areas as well. So we use Dibble's 8th edition. That is recommended by the state as our dyslexia screener. But we took it a little bit further just to make sure. So when the student comes in and we give them a minute to look at all those letters, sometimes our kindergartners don't know their letters yet, and that's okay. That's our work. So we have implemented this year the RAN for any student who did not meet criteria for letter naming fluency. What this is they have 5 different pictures, and it's in 6 rows, and they just name the pictures as quickly as they can. And based on their birth date, they're then equated to an average, low average, below average, poor range, depending on that. So that
we're doubling down on our dyslexia screener, really, because the Dibbles 8 is really all we need to do, but we took it a step further with the rapid naming program. New this year, our quick spelling survey is given to all of our students in grades 2 through 5. That will happen twice a year. We really want to pick up and support our students in the area of spelling as well as of reading. And we have the benchmark assessment system to help us assess our comprehension. So it's a pretty complete package as far as our screeners and assessment go. When we think about the strands and everything a student needs to do to read, we're consistently and constantly assessing them in those areas. Through the years, just to highlight some of the exciting things that we've done, we've moved from a reading A through Z benchmarking tool to a Fontes and Pinnell benchmarking assessment system. That's giving us excellent instructional data. That's what we use it for, to inform our instruction and build students who can comprehend. We continue to continually use the latest Dibbles. We're using the 8th edition long before other districts began. We adopted it very early on. We added our interventionists to the kindergarten level. That has been a fantastic program that we're able to have 2 people every single morning at North Grafton and 2 people every single morning at South Grafton, giving students who have screened, who might need just a little extra support in the area of letters, sounds, sight words, phonemic awareness. They'll get a double dose with an interventionist, so that's really exciting. And then this year, we added a 1.0 literacy specialist position, and I'm super excited about this. We have a very solid reading department, Tier 2 reading department, K through 6. But by adding this 1.0 literacy specialist, it's freed up Kristen Perrone at North Street to coach halftime. And then our new literacy specialist is coaching halftime at Millbury Street School. The reason why that's so important is we've rolled out foundations this year for 3rd grade. We struck gold with Renee because she is a foundations level 3 trainer, certified through Wilson. We got really, really lucky. So she's been a literacy coach for years, and the fact that she comes in with that knowledge of foundations, and then we have Kristen with the tech piece, it is a fantastic rollout that we're able to provide support to those teachers that I probably would not have been able to do at this level, that the 2 of them are doing it. So we're so lucky to have them in place this year. So thank you very much for that position. We've added Hegarty to kindergarten and grade 1 for our explicit phonemic awareness, meeting the dyslexia guidelines. We've added Hegarty products to our SPED programming as well, now that we're assessing it, uncovering it, and then we're providing timely intervention in that area. Again, foundations in grade 3 for all students. One of the works that we did is around, with Bob Wall, we actually started it with Arnold, was around a SPED decision tree. So if somebody thinks that a student might have a reading disability, we walk them through testing. These are making sure that you do these types of tests with these students. If the test results say this area, this might be the intervention that you want to match the student with, and then this is how you'll progress monitor. So it's a complete flow chart. And again, as we know, special ed programming is meant to be very individualized, so it is not a lockstep. There's options at each step of the way, just to guide the decision process. And we've added EdMark and Linda Mood Bell to our SPED programming. As you know, the summer reading program, we last summer offered 2 weeks of a Title I math and reading program, which was super exciting. So we'll continue to evaluate whether that's needed. We share their parent reading data. You know, when my students were in Grafton Public Schools, it was just kind of a mystery. Now, over the last 5 or 6 years, parents, we share that data, the Dibbles and the benchmark assessment system with parents. We've added the quick spelling survey, as I mentioned. We've revised our reading intervention Tier 2 instructional framework, which is very exciting. We've added a lot of science of reading, the Hegarty. We've added some Wilson to that. So those literacy specialists are working really, really hard to close gaps for almost 160 students here in district. And then we've added Project Read Written Expression. Our professional development for our teachers in the area of literacy, I'm super excited to announce that we have 18 Wilson teachers. You go one town over, they have 2, and they're really excited about that. We've got the market cornered on Wilson reading teachers. So we have 18 certified Wilson teachers in district. That shows a real commitment to remediating reading disabilities. Many of our SPED and reading specialists have attended Linda Mood Bell. So not only do we have the option of our Wilson products, but we also have Linda Mood Bell products for our SPED intervention. In October of this year, 21 Grafton Public School teachers attended the International Dyslexia Association annual conference. Then those teachers have had the opportunity to share out with their colleagues at staff meetings and grade level meetings what they've learned. So that's been a really, that was really exciting to be able to participate in that. And the only reason that happened was because it was virtual. It was, I think, it was going to be in North Carolina. We would have never been able to send 21 teachers there, but the fact that it was virtual, we had the opportunity to attend this excellent conference. And then we've done professional development around dyslexia for our paras last year. That was really exciting with those extra half days. We were able to support paras in that area as well. And they've recently rolled out even more Project Rewritten Expression professional development for teachers. So the way the reading department supports staff is we have brought back Make and Take Tuesdays. It's been great. We've worked, Krista and myself, Renee, have worked very closely with the math specialists, the new math team. And as a coaching team, we decided to bring back Make and Take Tuesdays. What this means is a teacher can go into the lunchroom and grab an activity that we've made for them, put it together, and then turn it into instruction the next day or add it to a math center or a literacy center. So due to COVID, that kind of went away and it was just literacy. This year we've brought it back and we've added math to it as well. I'm continuing my recess time meetings with the North Grafton and South Grafton teachers. That's always fantastic. We talk about data, we talk about programming, any questions that they might have around literacy, just making ourselves available. We help teachers with resources. We're part of the SST team. We meet with teachers one-to-one. We provide grade level support, model lessons, data meetings, or we allow them to visit a colleague. It's great when we get to talk to them, but we love to sub for a class so that they can go and watch another teacher teach as well. And then it wouldn't be a literacy presentation without discussing dyslexia. Recently, back in April, Massachusetts rolled out the dyslexia guidelines. As a district, we've rolled that out to the appropriate staff. I conducted an audit of our Grafton Public Schools. So what I did was I took every single item mentioned in the dyslexia guideline, and then I showed evidence, tried to show evidence of meeting those standards. Instead of just kind of saying, oh yeah, we got it, I was able to really hone in and dive deep into, yeah, this is the evidence of meeting this standard. We added the rapid naming that I mentioned. That's all part of the dyslexia screener. Dibble's 8th edition is also, you'll find that on the DESE website as a dyslexia screener. And we were already ahead of the game on this. We have been providing appropriate, systematic, and explicit instruction and intervention, and that's our Wilson, Jess Words, Linda Mood Bell, Hegarty. So when those dyslexia guidelines came out, I would say 98% of the things we've already had in place. We were already able to say, yes, we really stayed ahead of that. As you can tell, you don't get Wilson certified in a day. To have 18 people certified has been years in the making for that. And then we progress monitor just as the DESE guidelines ask us to. And then, of course, I want to pitch this for all of our kindergarten and first grade parents. Every year I like to do a workshop to just answer questions parents might have that they haven't had a chance to send off to teachers. You know, understanding the literacy instruction, when you get your reading data, what does that actually mean? What does this number actually mean? Should I be worried? So I'm happy to offer this in January again in person, January 10th at North Grafton Elementary School, and then Tuesday, January 11th, I'm going to offer it virtual for those. It's the same thing, so you don't feel like you have to come to 2 nights, but it will be again virtual. And those notices, thank you to Julie and Doreen, they sent those out and people can start signing up for that. So I look forward to meeting parents.
That's it.
Was that record time?
A lot. All right, I'll open it up to the committee for questions, comments. Liz? Oh,
That's all
sorry.
right. That's all right. Let's
You sure?
It's fine.
Thought you won the hand race.
It's
so-
okay though. Maybe I'll get a chance to speak.
I'll take it back. Thank you, Lisa.
You're
This is-
welcome. Thanks for
this
having me.
is a great presentation. This is amazing. I share your excitement with the 18 people Wilson certified. I didn't even know what that meant coming into this meeting, but I'm really excited about it, so that's great. I just wondered, this year, everyone coming back to in-person learning, wondered what you have seen in terms of maybe kids who have tested out of intervention. Have you seen a lot of slide back, or maybe not? What have you seen this year in terms of kids' progression in that?
I can speak to the reading piece of it.
Yeah.
We looked back at our dibbles for the last 4 years, and our percentages have remained steady. So I think the reason for it is, it was the one thing parents could do at home. Go read. Go on Lexia. You know what I mean? Go on Raz Kids. So they were pretty steady. We have seen pockets of students who may not have attended Grafton Public Schools and have come to us in first grade. I'm thinking right now we're doing a little before school boot camp at North Grafton Elementary School. We have 7 students who we identified were in first grade, but really had skills or needed more kindergarten skills to be built up. So for the last 5 weeks, thanks to Beth Julien, who's been showing up early every day, we've been able to give those students and try to fill those gaps, whether they were virtual in another town or went to another town last year. They didn't have their letters or sounds, so we were able to quickly identify students who might have had those gaps. But as a whole, as far as reading goes, the gaps weren't as big as it could have been.
Okay,
So I thank parents for that.
good, thank you.
And you want me to tell you about Wilson?
Yeah. Tell me
So,
more. Tell me
so
more.
Wilson level 1 certification, because it's really a huge commitment on the teacher's part, and the district's part. It's thousands of dollars to get someone certified. They take 90 hours of online classes, and then they do a practicum with a student. It's pretty much a 1 year. They have to have 5 observations from someone from Wilson, and they get graded and watched and observed. So it's a big commitment, and the fact that we have 18 teachers who are willing to do that, and principals who allowed them to have the time in their schedule to be able to get certified has really been a big commitment for everyone in the district.
That's great.
Yeah.
Can I have one more question?
Good.
So I know coming into this year, I've heard from some of the teachers in the elementary schools that they need to replenish their books, that was a big need. How is it with the books that you need? Is that a need that you have, or is your supply pretty good?
Yeah, no, I didn't hear that. It must be classroom libraries that they've been working with their
Yeah,
principals.
yeah.
We did identify in 6th grade some pockets of need, and luckily Steve and Joanne okayed those POs and spent thousands and thousands of dollars to get those books in place. The only books that I'm really thinking about adding would be decodable books, meaning books that match the phonics skill being taught. So like A consonant E books, like make and take and cake. So books that allow students to practice those phonics. As you can imagine, when you are that narrow looking for a book, the contents aren't that great. Like you can only talk about cakes, bakes, takes, snakes so many times within a book. So I'm trying to make sure the ones that we buy are very high quality. Yeah, so that would be the only addition that I could see us needing.
Okay.
So thank you.
I'm gonna go with Jen, and we'll go to you next.
I literally had my hand up first. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, mine will be brief. I just want to say, from the years of being on the committee and seeing, I guess I'm happy to see how much you have, what's the word, addressed maybe the dyslexia, because it's obviously very prominent in this particular presentation, but I haven't seen such a high emphasis in the past, so it's kind of nice to see. And I was going to ask you before, how did we fit with the guidelines, but you've already answered that, so that was kind of nice to see. But I am interested to see everything that we put into place, how it pans out like over the year or two, and seeing what it has done or what we can do or how much it's helped or not. So, but just thank you for adding it to it.
Oh, you're very, very
Yeah.
welcome. We've made a big shift too, like we're really starting Wilson. We're not waiting till fourth grade. Like Wilson allows you to start at second grade. So the minute, we see a student that might have a weakness in first grade, we set them up as soon as they move to North Street or Millbury Street in order to go into a Wilson group. So I think that's a really big shift. So hopefully by the time students leave Millbury Street and North Street, we've closed and filled that gap. And then they can go to middle school and take a foreign language and not have to worry about fitting in their Wilson lessons. So
Right.
that's going to be a shift I'm really excited about.
Oh, thank you.
Laura, Jen actually kind of said what I was going to say, but I do want to say to you, Lisa, that your enthusiasm is infectious. As I wish Tim Phelps was still here, but as he says, you are truly a rock star. You are a rock star Grafton employee. You do so much outside of just your maybe job description. And I love having you come. You pretty much answered my questions as we went, which is nice because you've probably learned to anticipate what we were going to ask. I echo what Jen said about just the focus on dyslexia, and I've just seen such a growth over the years, and I think you've definitely been a huge part of that. I know you have an amazing team as well, but I know your leadership has really brought that. I think our reading program has just excelled over the years, and I thank you for that. I was going to kind of just piggyback on what Jen said, and maybe it's too soon to tell about all the additional supports we have. Have we seen a difference with kids maybe who might have gone out of district, or are we is it too soon to tell?
That might be a better question for Bob Wall.
Okay.
Just because he takes it over at
Yeah.
that point, right?
Yeah.
Like, as far as the cases go and things like that. So I think that would be more of a question for Bob. But
Okay.
we try our best to compete with, between the Wilson and the Linda Mood Bell product. Those are the
Yeah.
Cadillacs of intervention. So we offer just as competitive a program as anywhere someone could be sent out to.
That's great. And then I had one other question and I think you answered it, but the rapid naming, which I think is fantastic, because that's a lot. If they do poor, would that move them into the intervention in kindergarten, or what happens then?
Yeah, so it was interesting. We had identified all but 2 students. Like we have about 45 students in kindergarten who see an interventionist. So we did the criteria sheet and all of our dibbles, and then we did the rapid naming piece of it. And there were only 2 students that showed up on the rapid naming that didn't qualify the first round.
Okay.
Then because of their rapid naming, we were able to qualify them a second round.
Yeah.
And then I went and I met with each of the school psychologists and the special ed, the SST teams at both North Grafton and South Grafton. And we talked about the scores and all of those students who scored. It was a very small percentage too, who scored below average for rapid naming. They're on their radars as well now.
Great, okay. Well, thank you. And if anybody needs to go to the conference in the future, if it's not virtual, let us know, and hopefully maybe we can find some budget for that, because I think it is so valuable. So it's great to see you, and
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
My turn? Okay, I did have one question. EdMark is one I'm not familiar with. What is that?
EdMark is a sight word program. So
Okay.
it's for students who, it's a very, very small percentage. I think 1% of our students has EdMark. There's an online program, and there's an actual boxed program that you can work with. So we have about 30 licenses in Grafton right now for students who have tried the phonics route and then need a little bit extra with memorizing the sight words to get them up to read.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. I said to you before that, this is one of my favorite meetings of the year, was when you come and fill us in on all the hard work that's gone into this. I just want to make one point, and that is that this is not all of the stuff that you have in this presentation. I know you didn't do this in a year. It's taken years and years of patience, and I know how slowly things can move and how frustrating that can be, but it's really taken a long time to get to this point. And it just shows your level of commitment, your patience, your tenacity to keep pushing and keep striving to do better for our kids, and we really appreciate it. It's definitely the Cadillac of literacy programs, and we're so lucky to have you and your team here. I'm a big literacy buff myself, so I get really excited about this anyway, but you are infectious when you talk about it. It's so exciting. And I think a lot of people will benefit from attending your workshop. So I will definitely be helping to plug that for you. And I'm very, very excited about the interventionists in kindergarten. I think that's fantastic. I think we definitely, when my kids were in kindergarten, or my oldest, who's now senior, was in kindergarten, the expectation was not that they read. We had half-day kindergarten, they all knew their alphabet, and that was pretty much it. But things have sped up and changed so much just in that 13 years, that's the pace of education. And the fact that we're able to not just keep up, but exceed expectations. One thing I did just think of is the guidelines from the state. Did they give any sort of expectation or deadline by which schools need to comply? Or is it just a set of guidelines?
Yeah, so it's just a set of guidelines.
Oh, so they didn't really put any teeth behind it, huh?
Yeah, there isn't a tied to funding deadline, you've got to roll this out. Fortunately for us, we've been doing it for years, so a deadline didn't really even matter for us. But yeah, there's a lot of, I've been working, because now we have Kristen and Renee, I'm able to attend some of the DESE workshops, and just to go in, tomorrow morning, I'll actually be in one, and to listen to what other people have challenges in their district, I'm like, wow, I'm pretty excited
Yeah.
to be there and to hear that, we have what we have in place already.
That's great. That's awesome. Well, congratulations. Keep up the good work.
Thank you very much. And I do want to say it is a group effort between, building admin, all the teachers, just the commitment to have those 18 teachers certified is huge. The literacy department, the tier 2, our special ed teachers, and then central office. It's been anything I go up there and ask for, I lay it on thick, but there's never a no. It's always all right, that sounds great if you're going to do this. Jay, I've got 7 kids who need to come before school. Can I just go with it? He's like, sure. So I thank everyone. It's a huge team effort.
Liz, you had one thing?
Yeah, one more question. I wanted to ask about the quick spelling survey that's administered to grades 2 through 5. How is that, what do you do with the results of that? Is that something where kids, is it like the other tests where kids might get called out for intervention because of that, or is it part of an intervention program, or what's
So with the
how do you
Daily
respond?
5 structure in place, what that is it's a management system to rotate students in and out of stations. So there's a word workstation. So the teachers were able to take that data, and this is new this year, so that at the beginning of the year, they took their data, and then they were able to say, okay, this is, with the help of Kristen and Renee, this is how we need to group our students. So they'll go to work with the teacher, and they might work on that spelling pattern. Or they might have a word sort that they do over at the word workstation. So it's really allows the classroom teacher to individualize their work that they might need at the different stations.
Got it. Thank you.
Great. All right. Thank you so much,
Great,
Lisa.
thank you.
Lisa.
Thank you.
Good to see you.
And our final piece of general business is GHS Innovation and College Partnerships, Kevin Carney and Karen Mealy.
All right.
Is this your first time here as principal, Kevin?
I think so.
Yeah, it definitely is. It's like an all-star night tonight.
I
We've
know.
got
We need to do
Karen.
this
Long time I've
every,
been sitting at a school
every
committee
meeting.
meeting.
We
Great.
need to have as many staff in
Just
here
told
as
Mrs.
possible.
Mealy, sorry, Professor Mealy, that completely froze. She needs to carry the presentation for me.
So if you don't know Karen Mealy is an exceptional English teacher at Grafton High School. Karen was the mastermind behind all of the success, or most of the success we had with online learning at secondary level last year. And some of you maybe are meeting Kevin for the first time. He's our fantastic interim GHS principal. He jumped into the role at probably the most unprecedented and challenging time in history. But despite that, has not only held the fort down, but has moved us forward, which is just remarkable. It's an incredibly challenging job when things are kind of normal, if you will. The fact that we've moved forward in so many ways in a short amount of time is really outstanding. And Karen and Kevin obviously play a huge role in that, and they're going to speak about some of those positive changes tonight. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Cummings. Thank you, Madam Chairs, ladies of the school committee. It's an honor to be here. And just to comment on some of the things that you mentioned in the last presentation about Lisa Rice of being a true team player. I don't know if people realize this, but she's on our Grafton High School instructional support team. Even though she's so focused on the elementary level, she serves as an active member of our council, of our review team, of students who struggle with a number of learning issues. So her insight, I mean, sometimes she has recollection of those students as elementary kids before they get to high school and understand some of the obstacles in their way, but she's just done a great job for us in helping us remove barriers for kids. And again, for our nurses, you know, some think it says urgent care above their door across the district, and they handle things in stride. It's been a pleasure to check in with our nurses at the high school every day, because even despite their challenges, the energy they bring to it, it's kind of like emergency services personnel. They elevate, they get energized by the increased challenge before them, and they're just a staple in our school over the past couple of years. And to Dr. Cummings' point, I came to Grafton High School the year of the initial pandemic, talking about some of these things. So whether or not the plan was to be here for a short period of time or a longer period of time, the things that we're going to share with you tonight are really things that superintendents and principals have been talking about maybe for a decade. And education change is hard. It really is, but sometimes it takes an event. And let's be honest, the pandemic has been horrible in so many ways, but there is silver lining because it's expedited some change. So if I was locked at Grafton High School, I was lucky, because the conversations that I was having with superintendents and principals 10, 8, 5 years ago about what if, I was surrounded by people at Grafton High School with problem solving for hybrid education, especially the person to my left, Professor Mealy, who constantly challenges my thinking about what if we did this, what if we did that. So tonight we're going to talk to you about what are we doing differently from last year? What did we learn from last year that has helped us evolve, and how is that shaping our future planning with future program opportunities? And not just with programs, but what are we looking at structurally different? And the combination of those two things has really created some goals and projections that are far-reaching, but I think attainable as well. So the biggest change, or one of the biggest changes you see, is the titles that you see before you, in that a year ago, Professor Mealy was just, I don't want to say just, that's not offensive in any way, shape, or form, because she is certainly an informal leader in so many ways at Grafton High School, but she was an English teacher and she was the department head. But we had the opportunity because Edgenuity was great, but it wasn't giving us enough for the number of students that we were going to have in full remote or hybrid learning. So Karen said, what if I have the experience teaching higher education? I can work with, we were talking about launching early college courses second semester last year, but it may have been Karen's July 28th text. I forget. It was late July, early August 16. We could speed this up, get on the horn with Quinsig and see if we can launch this in the fall. And that really, launched our plan, our expedite of let's do a Zoom, let's get parents and kids involved, let's bring QCC to the table and launch this for the fall semester. So you had Edgenuity virtual high school, which was already in place at Grafton High School for a number of years, as well as Quinsigamond Community College courses. And she said, you know what? I can help plan for this, but let's get the ducks in a row so that I can be an on-site professor. That's why I've been calling her professor mainly for the last 10 minutes. She demands it. She won't say it at this meeting now. But we have an on-site professor at Grafton High School now for Quinsig. She's a Grafton High School teacher, but she's also earned the credentials of awarding QCC credits to our students and being, an advisor for the kids who take courses well beyond English. So from there, she's also our internship coordinator that we've rebooted this year, and we're bringing back Edgenuity to serve as credit recovery and our major platform for summer school. So that was a mouthful for slide one. I'll shorten it up. But at the end of the day, everything anchors to two questions for us at Grafton High School. And everything that we try to do, not just from credit, alignment and awarding for students and preparing them for the best schools or jobs that they can get into, it's really, what are we doing to challenge their thinking? What are we doing to expand their experiences with things that they're going to face in adult life, right? We don't believe in plopping a baby into the 12-foot end of the pool. We believe in giving them a taste of what they're experienced before they're fully immersed. So that was really what was behind our thinking with how can we start offering advanced placement courses at college rigor weight, right? Equal weight, but dealing with different expectations and with the challenges of remote learning. We know, both of us have taught at the college level, where we know that our students are going to face with at least a hybrid course or two over their 4 years or 6 years or 7 years, however long it takes for them to earn their bachelor's degree or more. But exposing them to those challenges and freedom and flexibility in their scheduling for other things, I want them to experience that now. I think everyone at the table has experienced really high-functioning peers when we grew up, really high-performing students, but they were tested with an environment that they didn't experience before, and they just couldn't handle it. So I want to lower that chance for our Grafton High School graduates, and I know Karen does as well. So as we're preparing them for colleges and careers, there's a parallel effort of, are we focused to the mental health issues of our students and their social emotional needs? And that's a parallel effort.
Yeah.
So what do we do differently this year? Jump in. Go ahead. I need a breather anyway on a math break.
All right, so some things that we did differently this year. One of the things was that we launched 3 new academic pathways for students, and these are designations that they'll earn upon graduation. It's a way for them to package their coursework, package the electives that they're taking, and sort of make it into a concentration that they're focusing on in high school, so that when they apply to colleges, they can say, here was this package of courses that I did in high school that was focused on business or focused on creative arts. It's a way for them to get a taste of what it might be like, thank you, to major or minor in something in college. Kevin was saying earlier that we expanded the early college course offerings from 3 to 6. Last year during the pandemic, we only offered English 101, English 102, and business law. All of those classes were taught remotely by a QCC professor. And this year we expanded it to include psychology, pre-calc, and macroeconomics. Pre-calc was actually taught live to students via Zoom, so students met, I think, Tuesday and Thursday nights, maybe it was just Tuesday nights, with the QCC professor, so they sort of got that taste of what a live synchronous environment, online environment would look like. And then I started teaching 3 sections of English 101 in the fall, so that I was on campus with the students. If they had questions, they could come see me, they could get help with their essays, and then even students who didn't have me as their professor in a QCC class, I could help them with logging into Blackboard or how to email a professor if they needed an extension, those sorts of things. Our enrollment did jump drastically this year. We had 59 students enrolled last year, 160 students enrolled this year, and I think that number is just going to increase next year. I did a quick survey with the 61 students that I'm teaching and just asked them if QCC wasn't an option, what class would they have taken at GHS for English this year? 20% thought they would have taken an AP class, either our AP Lit or AP Lang class. 20% would have taken a CP class, and then 60% said they would have taken an honors class. So 80% of our students are now enrolled in a college level class that they wouldn't have taken if we didn't have this opportunity. So I think that number is pretty incredible, that our students are pushing themselves to do that work. One of the things that came out of Edgenuity last year and that sort of remote environment was this realization that our students really needed a more flexible schedule and more opportunities to work the way that they like to work and when they like to work. We know that our students are staying up way later than we are. They like to get their work done at midnight if they can, and really the QCC classes allow them to. So whether they have me or another QCC professor, most of their coursework is due at the end of the week. So they have a whole week that they have to plan out when they're going to do their work, how they're going to get their work done. When I asked students to reflect on their learning throughout the course, that's something that they said they struggled with but learned a lot about, and they actually appreciated it. Being able to sort of manage their time themselves and sort of figure out how and when and where they learned best. And also to do that with the guidance of me and our amazing guidance department at the school too, who really has worked with the students to help them manage their time. Students have gone to guidance counselors, come to me to make schedules for the week, much like they'll have to do when they're in college to manage their own time. And I think that was just a great learning opportunity for them. And then we're also rebooting our internship program this year. So last year, Jay Cody really did everything for the internship program. I mean, he just gave me everything he did, and I'm just picking up where he left off, which was an incredible amount of work that he put into it. Because of COVID last year, only 4 students participated. This year, we had our first meeting with students, our first interest meeting. 53 students attended, and since then, more students have come to me interested in learning more about it. We've had a lot of area businesses reach out to us, telling us that they're willing to take interns, which is great. So we are hoping that we get close to 50 students who actually want to go out into the local communities to do an internship during Q4. And that's for seniors who will participate in that.
Can you speak to some of the businesses who've connected with us?
Yeah, so far, UMass Med School has reached out to us. They said that they might be willing to take up to 10 students, which would be wonderful, to work in their labs, to work in outreach and education. The YMCA of Westboro has reached out. Bread Guy Breads has reached out to us. Apple Tree Arts reached out. So all of these people haven't necessarily committed to taking on interns, but they're at least interested and willing to hear more.
And am I allowed to say something? Just to speak to one thing about the flexible scheduling, as it goes to that parallel effort about social and emotional learning. A number of us in this room have either a junior or a senior in high school. And what we've observed, and there are living patterns, let's say. Some of it we approve of, and some of it we're concerned about because they're coming home from school. They are exhausted now. They're taking naps, and then they're telling us that they're going to start their homework at 11:30 at night or something crazy. When we were on Edgenuity, both Karen and I, and watching the patterns of when kids were engaging in their coursework, it was eye-opening. I mean, a number of students who were doing well were disciplined to say, I don't do well in the middle of the day. I do well better, early in the morning, checking off, doing other responsibilities that I have for either personal work or family stuff, and then going back on at night and just being disciplined in that regard. So if you're giving kids the flexibility to structure their school when it's convenient for them, it opens up employment opportunities. It allows them to learn what they need to learn when they're ready to learn it. And this is the debate that we've been having for probably way longer than a decade, is the school structure that we have is telling kids when to study the Pythagorean theorem at 7:30, and then at 8:15, we're going to tell you to turn on a dime and work on persuasive writing in English. And then it just continues to go from there every hour on the hour. Whereas we as adults, we have flexibility of knowing when we can work on a task when we're ready to work on a task, because I want to do well in it. but I've got to hold off until I'm disciplined to do it, so I may have to table it for a couple of hours. This provides some of that for our kids, and we're seeing the results from it. Another thing that we've done differently this year is our school counseling department has created instructional seminars for each of our grades. So each quarter, they're meeting with classroom groups of students going over issues like this, from goal setting to time management, and stress management, to inventorying what do they love and what are they good at, and how can we find that match, to their upperclassmen years of, okay, let's start building drafts of your resume. Let's start working on the college application process together. It's not new for many places, but each of the counselors have over 250 students. You can't do it in a retail model if we're going to gain the traction that we need to gain. And what I mean by that is one at a time, set up a meeting. There's an instructional component to this that what we're educating kids about can sufficiently be done in a classroom of 25 or even larger. Let's work on this together. So each of our counselors are working in classroom settings to hopefully, over the next couple of years, by the time we get to this time of year, the holiday break, everything about chapter 13 of their life is wrapped in a red bow. It's ready to go for whatever chapter 13 is, whether it's work or higher education.
So we are rolling out some new opportunities in the next school year. So next year we are going to expand our pathway designations from 3 to 5 and include a global competency recognition designation and a community service recognition. One of the things that we're really excited about is that Worcester State University has joined our early college partnership, and this will be taking place over the summer. At least one of these courses will be held at Grafton High School. One of them might be held on Worcester State's campus, but we're not sure about that yet. These courses are open to students in grades 10 to 12, so currently QCC is only offered to students who are juniors and seniors. This will expand our early college offerings to sophomores as well. These two courses, Intro to Public Health and Intro to Criminal Justice, were the two courses that students expressed the most interest in. We have about 90 students right now who are interested in taking these classes. They will be completely free to our students who are enrolled in them. Worcester State University received a grant. So as long as 40% of our students come from underrepresented groups, the courses will be free to everyone who is enrolled. So teachers are working right now to create lists of students for us to encourage to join these courses and earn these credits over the summer. And they will earn both college credit and high school credit for taking these classes. The school calendar is really expanding then because of that to a 12-month calendar if students want to take advantage of those opportunities. So we will have those early college courses that are available to students, and then we will be using Edgenuity over the summer and then over the breaks if students need them to recover credit. This summer, I guess, Edgenuity is coming back July 1st, and then we'll continue it throughout the school year for students who need credit recovery.
Okay, the last bullet you see there is computer help desk IT training for students. What that means is we're looking for credit options for students in an instructional program around computer science that gets to breaking this device down, the hardware, and rebuilding it. So I had some success, not me personally, because I could not do much with this if I took it apart, but we had Grafton and Uxbridge started their one-to-one program the same year, right? And we were sending families and kids out to get their insurance outside of the school. But then we switched it, so we were running the insurance program inside. It was cheaper and it was more efficient. We could turn around devices if they were damaged. We had students who could work with the adults to break apart the device and rebuild it and give it back to students. So it will be a new position that we're requesting, but it's not going to be on the foundation budget because we have confidence that parents will want the deal that we're providing internally for the Grafton Public Schools at a cheaper rate than external insurance companies, and they'll be more satisfied with the quality of service that they get. the monies from that will help fund a position that can help teach the skills that kids need. And it will cover things from device repair to the audio-visual work that we need throughout the school, the application support, for instance, Notability, Cami, Loom, Google. It will teach educators and other kids how to use this software, as well as office, school, and technology maintenance. So there are really 4 major tracks for students to learn. IT and computer science is a booming field that we can do more at no burden to taxpayers in the community. So we really see this as one of the missing links of our high school that students will be interested in. And as we get this off the ground, I mean, we're not just going to put a body in there if it's not the right fit to teach these students. We'll hold off until we have the right fit. But once it's in place, we are really looking to the middle school, which is still on our campus, because they're going to serve both schools, to really see where that interest and talent is and start helping to build those aspirations with kids at the middle level. It's an exciting opportunity. Another thing that we look to do, because one of the challenges that I see in our current schedule is we have holes. We have some nice art courses, but there may be 5 of the 13 that we offer that have no prerequisites, which means kids, if they haven't taken art fundamentals, they can't take drawing 1 or painting 1 or ceramics or that sort of thing. And then they're kind of forced into taking yet another physical education class, which is overburdening the physical education department with high numbers, high class sizes. We're a high school that's approaching 1,000 students potentially in the next few years. And we have a great band program, we have a great chorus program, but we seem to have the missing link, the third leg of performing arts, where there's a high level of interest and talent among our students. So we want to provide extended elective opportunities with no prerequisites. There are a lot of people that are interested in theater arts that may not want to be actors, but they may want to be in production and design. And what we've learned, and this is kind of a connection to our STEAM pathways, some of the most prominent, prestigious people that we see across the planet in terms of surgeons and lawyers and politicians, they're also artists, they're also musicians, they're designers, and we're big believers in the combination of that left brain, right brain thinker that we need to build in terms of those creativity and problem-solving skills. And a lot of that comes from the arts. So right now, it's an after-school club, whereas the other 2 performing arts, there are courses during the day. I think this provides additional opportunities for kids while also solving a scheduled problems where we have too many kids in directed studies. We're expanding schedule flexibility for kids to take courses outside of school hours and at their convenience, but we're at the same time we're not offering enough electives forcing kids into directed studies. So that is in our budget for this upcoming school year. Karen's going to speak again. Part of this is because of that opportunity for, I'm going to use just a brief example in English, because a number of students have elected not to take AP English Lang, they've elected to take QCC English 101, it's creating opportunities for the English department to launch electives that they've wanted to for a long time that they haven't been able to, but now they can. You want to run through these?
Yeah, so my teachers are incredible, first of all. So when we brought this idea to them that we had an opportunity to offer more electives, I think they came up with a list of something like 20 electives that they would be willing to create and offer to students next year. And what we did is we surveyed students to figure out which ones they would be most interested in, and 5 came to the top of the list. 1 was creative writing, which we've offered for years, and the other 4 are up here for us. So students were really interested in a speech and debate class, in a documentary filmmaking class, in a class that will be called Work Smarter, Not Harder, which will be focused on study skills, and the book 7 Habits of Highly Effective Teens, and then an introduction to film analysis. So again, like I said, my department has just been incredible in thinking through what these courses are going to look like, and I am sure that they are going to be amazing classes that our students are going to be able to take.
Some of the others I just talked about through the theater arts and the Worcester State courses, but a couple of others that our math department working on right now is a financial literacy course. That would be a math requirement. It would meet the graduation requirements. We need practical math skills for our students once they graduate, and we do believe that this would be appealing to higher education as well. 17-year-olds just typically aren't good at planning and budgeting for, say, a car payment, monthly rent over a course of a year, or mortgages, or how do I look at my gross pay versus net pay, and how do I have long-term planning? This is, again, given the time that we've lived in the last 2 years, we need something like this more than ever, right? Because in a blink of an eye, they're out of our care. So the math department is certainly data analysis fits in that same mold. There's not many careers out there that doesn't require some skill set in the working of data and how to analyze what it is you're doing and what steers change. This is a hot debate right now. You guys are getting firsthand scoop as it's happening. We're going to be talking about this with the school council tomorrow night, but I say this confidently live, and sometimes I do make promises just to make myself follow through with it. I do that to you too sometimes, I think. But there's momentum to shift and open up our grading period to mirror that of higher education. 86% of our students go on to higher education. Again, this goes back to, are we preparing our kids for the environment that they're getting into? The positives of this is, if you think about it, when we open up a school year, we're urging our teachers not to drill the syllabi down the throats of teenagers on day one. Build a relationship with them, build trust, build common norms and values in your classrooms. And then after a couple days, then you can get into the curriculum. It's worth spending the time up front so you're not losing time on the back end. Get to know your kids, allow your kids to know one another and you. Start that in the second week. And then the second week comes in, okay, we have to do fire drills now, evacuation drills, we have to have class meetings. Before you know it, we're probably day 5 or 6 into in term 1, and where teachers are expected to close grades temporarily for the midterm reports on day 22 of term 1. There's not a lot of time to really, and I think you are connecting with what I'm saying here right now, right? Is that I don't have a lot to produce back to parents and kids. I don't feel confident in engaging where their skills are at this moment. It's premature to communicate out. And then what happens from there is the heavier weighted work of students, projects or assessments happen really, they're bottlenecked between the last 2 and 3 weeks of the term, which is elevating the stress for teachers, of syncing grades, communicating out, chasing kids having weighted, the highest weighted grade stuff at the end, not having recovery time, that if it's not a true indicator of what they know, that almost challenges the teachers thinking of the grade they're putting down and reporting out to parents, because over the majority of the term, on a day-to-day basis, they were communicating a better understanding of the curriculum. But this one test or one project at the end that was heavier weighted impacted the final grade. If you open up that window, first of all, we don't have any quarter grades. Quarter courses. We only have semester courses and full year courses. Let's use the whole semester. For me, the only grade that really matters over the course of a school year is the final one in June. if we're really looking through a standards-based mindset of, it's not how you start it, it's how you finish. Ms. Meal, you've seen something in your own courses that I'd like you to comment on, if you mind. If they stopped, if you were forced to stop at day 45,
Right, and
How
we saw
would
that with
you-
Edgenuity last year too. So with Edgenuity last year, we didn't do quarter-long reporting. They only earned a grade at the end of the year, and we would have had a lot of students who were failing if we ended grades at the, the Q1 marking period or the Q2 marking period. They really needed the full year to learn, to grow. And then with the QCC classes, I've seen the same thing. Right now, every single student that I have right now at this very moment is passing my QCC course with a 73 or better, which is what they need to earn credit. But if I had stopped grades at Q1, that was not the case. But they've grown, they've matured, they've learned how to work, on their own. And, thankfully, we didn't close the grades off at the end of Q1 and then average it with whatever they earned Q2. They just were able to grow and improve their grades. And I think the grade that they have earned right now is a true reflection of what they're able to do.
so if the teachers and the students aren't ready to make that shift, we won't propose it, but I think right now with adults, there's some momentum. And as a safety net behind it, we're putting in credit recovery opportunities, which we haven't had in the past. So I'm going to speak to that.
Yeah, so, and I wanted to say this before and I forgot. When we offered summer school classes to our students last year with Edgenuity, we had 40 students who completed coursework that they wouldn't have completed otherwise. So they earned those credits, they were able to move on to this year, and hopefully will graduate on time as a result of that. So we're really hopeful that by offering credit recovery class opportunities to students, in future years, we're going to see more and more students who aren't doubling up on English classes their senior year or doubling up on math classes, because they can do this credit recovery over the summer or over their breaks if they choose to. And then we want to sustain the school from home or off-campus learning for students who are enrolled in our VHS or QCC or Worcester State, if that expands to courses so that they can learn at their own time and at their own pace.
These are some numbers that, again, Mrs. Mealy did not want me to put on the board, but I did it anyway. Because I don't know if they're not attainable. I really don't. If you have an aspiration to go to higher education, and the high majority of them are to four-year schools, I want them to take at least one AP class or an early college class. Last year, we had 59 students take one course, at least one course. And 24 of those 59 that I think took the English 101 wasn't in an honors level course or an AP the year before. They were at a CP level. But with encouragement, they said, give it a shot. We're not going to let you fail. And all of them did very well. Like at a B or an A level, they rose to the occasion. And they're doing, we don't have the numbers yet because the semester grades haven't come out this year. But if we're going on last year's figures and the confidence that students, like if something's working, kids send the message, right? They communicate to each other that you want to do this. So if you look at 2 years ago, there were 0 students enrolled in early college classes. Last year, there were 59. This year, there's over 160. And next year, we project over 200. Or possibly half of our juniors and seniors will be enrolled in at least one course. That's a crazy increase in such a short period of time. And not only are they going from a good number of them, CP level credit, they're jumping to AP level credit, thus increasing the profile for themselves and the entire school simultaneously. So in a couple years, we do want, if the internship program works, if many of our kids are already enrolled in a job, and that's good, that counts for something. But if our pathways work, it's really, and I encourage folks at home that are watching, and we're pushing this out in our communication, but go to the school counseling website and to see the 5 pathways. There's 3 right now. The other 2 that were mentioned tonight will be in this year's program of studies for your approval to vote. But it's shifting the ownership to the students. So if they construct their transcript in such a way that tells a story to their interests and skills, by the time they're an upperclassman, there are more opportunities for them to do independent studies with teachers, to do internships, to create that flexibility to do work that's aligned to their talents and skills. And I do want to say 100% can do that. Is that attainable? I hope, you know, but certainly by that 226 year, I hope that kids are coming into their senior year, and at this time, before the break, they're like, I know what I'm doing next year. You talk about stress reduction and social emotional learning, and I hope you can hear the different structural and programmatic efforts that we're making, that we're swiping a broad brush and doing a number of different things. Like a principal used to say, I like to slay, you know, multiple dragons with one arrow. And that's really, I think, the approach that we take. Kind of like, you know, it doesn't happen without superstars like Miss Mealy did, to my left. Questions? I know Miss Mealy talks an awful lot.
I saw Laura's hand first this time. Sorry, Liz, I was looking over here.
Look to the right, no. Thank you both very much. So I loved with that you started this whole thing with what if. So I think what we all, I hope, have learned from the past 2 years is that what if. When we talked about later start times many years ago, we mentioned if we were going to do it again, if we were going to create education, we would not create education the way it is. We know that. So I am so impressed and so excited to see what you have come to us with tonight. I absolutely am just blown away and so excited about the addition of the early college courses. The flexible learning, I think, is so important. You know, and Kevin, you said, you know, we encourage them to give it a shot. And there's that old quote, and I don't know who said it, but, you know, what would you do if you knew you couldn't fail? And that failure, that reason to not think that you're going to fail, I think is such an eye-opener. We're seeing our kids more stressed out than ever, pushing themselves, which is wonderful. I love seeing high achievement. But be able to do it in a different way, I think, is so important when you talk about shifting the grades. I think that's so important. And yes, it's a shift. It's not how we did it. But how we did it, that I don't think it didn't work. We wouldn't do it again. If we started from scratch, if we were building schools, it wouldn't be the way it is now. We just know that. So I am in 100% favor of everything. I didn't say much when Jay presented it 2 weeks. I'm obviously a huge theater fan, so I love that. But I think it's great for our students as well to give them that outlet, to give them more opportunities. So sorry, guys, I don't have any questions. I'm just thrilled. Kevin, thank you. And Karen, your team is amazing, so please pass that along. It's wonderful to have you both in these challenging years. To be able to not be stuck and to move forward is so impressive to me. Because that's been my fear, because these kids who are here now, they can't be stuck. They have to keep moving forward because this pandemic has shifted their lives, and I love seeing it shift in a positive direction. So thank you. Thanks, Amy, for letting me rant.
It wasn't a grant, it was positive. I don't know what that is.
It's very passionate.
Liz.
And thank you. I'm especially excited about the theater arts expansion as well, but also the financial literacy class. I went to a very small, poorly funded high school, but we had a class where we learned things like how to fill out a checkbook and things like that. And it stuck with me when I went into college. So I'm excited to hear about that class with some of those basic financial skills. I think that's going to be great. And I'm hearing a lot from parents, people asking about a class like that. So I think that's going to be really well received. Question about the concentrations. Those, I'm trying to remember, those were just added last year, right?
Just put into the program of studies for this
coming year.
Yep.
Okay. So my question is, for kids who are, let's say, sophomores, juniors, are they still able to complete those concentrations, or are they already behind because they weren't able to start it in freshman year?
That's not, they will speak specifically to the number of credits that you need to accrue over the 4 years. But we adjust. I mean, a number of the kids who've expressed interest in them already created the pathway already. So if they're, say, a course short and they didn't have the opportunity to take it, yes, that's put into consideration, for
Okay.
sure.
Okay.
But we didn't get into the details of it, but again, it goes to show, if you read through it, there are 3 tiers to it.
Right.
You can do a certification level, you can do a certification with honors, and then there's the distinction level. When you get to the distinction level, that means, okay, you're doing a number of hours of internship work, you're doing a capstone project, you're really owning that final year of your high school in this particular area. But some students aren't looking or don't feel they have the commitment to do it at that level.
Right.
People have different situations in each family, right? But they have an interest and they can create their transcript to tell a story that will make them more marketable to some of the schools that they're looking to attain. So that will earn them. You don't have to be an honors level student. You don't have to be an advanced placement student or an early college student. You have to have an interest in business studies or whatever it is that you're signing up for. And that will allow you to put on your applications that I've earned certification in business studies or global studies or STEAM or community service. And we can endorse that. We can write that into our letters of recommendation. And that will earn something. I've seen it year in and year out. We all, and we've talked about this off mic, but I think that our parents, who were baby boomers, you know, they were educated through the effort of do the best that you can and get into the best school you can get, and you know, you'll figure it out from there. College has become so more competitive, which has escalated the costs like you wouldn't believe. We have to position our students and families in a way that puts them in the best position to A, get into the right school that fits them, and B, afford it. So again, another parallel effort. We have students transferring a full semester in of college credits before they even start college, which is helping families, but their transcript tells the story of their interests. You look at a UMass Amherst, our flagship of our state. I think the threshold GPA to get in is 3.9. That was not the threshold when we went to high school. So the general admission is getting more competitive at the state level and even with the publics. So if you can help students find their passion earlier and tell their story with a transcript, it's going to lead. What colleges care about is how can I retain the students once we get them in? How can we keep them paying their bills to stay, is another way of saying it. But if kids know who they are and what they want to do, it's going to increase their chances of admission, for sure.
But there's room for kids who start off freshman year, maybe they think they're interested most in business, but then they switch
Yes.
to STEAM. There's
Yep.
still room for that because,
Yep.
okay.
So if you look at, say, a STEAM certificate or a pathway, there's a way to bounce off over and go to creative arts and communication. You know, there's a similar set of courses. And then if you look at, which we'll probably present to you in another month or so, community service, there may be not a student who identifies with any specific academic area, but they're really involved in civic engagement and community service. There's an opportunity for that student to gain recognition too, and to earn that cord just like a National Honor Society student can earn.
Thank you. So the college, like the QCC and Worcester State classes that they're attending, first quick question is, are those classes weighted as well? Like okay, so they're weighted on the same level as
weight.
the AP courses? Okay. So what I'm trying to figure out is, you know, I understand it helps parents save cost because they are getting some college credit for these courses, right? That's one advantage. And it sounds like it's also, another advantage is that it's also helping prepare them in a in the safe environment of the high school, they're experiencing these classes where they can go back and say, and help figure out time management instead of just all of a sudden making that leap, right? Is that the kind of the big?
Yeah, and have office hours to get help with the actual
Yeah.
skills of writing, just like they would in college, right? They can make an appointment, they can sit down with me for 10 or 15 minutes and actually talk about their essay, much like they would if they were in a one-on-one class, you know, at QCC or wherever they decide to go.
Okay. So your goal of trying to get 75% of aspiring college students, is that more of a social emotional preparedness that you're focused on? Or do you think that colleges actually look at this and see, wow, they're already taking college classes that might give them an advantage over kids who are not
I think,
doing so?
if I'm being honest, I think we're not going to push that top bullet.
Yeah.
That's going to happen naturally.
Okay.
Because students can take, say, an English 101 course that will give 5 credits for an English high school class. That's full year. They're going to get the 5 credits in the semester's amount of time and 3 credits for $250 for that class. And then they're going to transfer. I'll use one case. We had one student and several others, but this one rings in my head, of $250 a course at QCC replaced a $2,500 course at Cal Polytech. These were the questions we were getting a year ago about, will QCC credits really transfer out of Worcester County? Like, will they take them at other four-year schools on Eastern and Western Mass, or up and down? We have credits from QCC transferring into University of Alabama, North Carolina State, Cal Polytech, as I just mentioned, all corners of the country. And it's not new to Massachusetts, but it's newer to Massachusetts and other areas of the country. And the governor and the Secretary of Education has been pushing this for a number of years. The pandemic helped us accelerate it here in Grafton. But to get back to your question, I don't think that we need to sell it. I don't think we need to push it. It's already marketed, and I think it has traction already. The one thing that she didn't want me to put up there as a bullet, and I still want to put it back there, by 2028, I think we'll have students at Grafton High School graduate with an associate's degree before they graduate with a high school diploma. That's already happening in Massachusetts. So think about that in helping families and kids in restructured high schools. They're going into college, they're four-year colleges, with only 2 years to fulfill for the baccalaureate degree. And not to warn you parents, but I surveyed your kids in grades 7 through 12. And I want to say 40% of them have aspirations to earn master's degrees and doctorate degrees. So having that head start kind of makes sense for us and your financial planning.
But finances, let's say all college was free. Wouldn't that be nice? Just the finances aside, though, do you think it gives them an advantage beyond that? Do you think colleges look at that and just see like, wow, they're
Yeah, it's considered an advanced placement course. So when college admissions offices look at how are you raising your aspiration levels? What are you doing to take more ownership? What are you doing to really align yourself to areas where you can contribute, not to only our institution, but society after you leave our school. And I think Grafton High School, and this is separate from Miss Mealy and me, I think we're doing a good job. They're doing a good job of really helping kids find their path that's fit. I think there's a pathway for everyone. And what you see, the 5 pathways that we have here, are just basically taking what the program of studies has been and kind of shaping it in ways that will tell stories for individual students, as even the undecided. Now, granted, 50% of students entering college or applying to college are either undecided or going to liberal arts. That's been that way for a long time, and it probably will continue, and that's okay. I don't want to communicate that there's pressure. You better find one of these 5 pathways, or you're in deep trouble. No, it's not that way. But if you have an idea, if you want to apply to the Eisenberg School of Business at the University of Massachusetts Amherst, having that distinction for business studies out of Grafton and being a part of DECA, or if you're looking to go to UMass Medical and being a part of the STEAM distinction, and you've done capstone projects and you've done that's going to help you gain attention, for sure. And the profile of Grafton High School and the Grafton Public Schools is good. It really is. This goes back a few years ago when I approached Dr. Cummings and saying, you're sitting on a gold mine here. There's an opportunity to do something. And I didn't think I'd be sitting here doing the school committee presentation 3 years later, but I think...
Careful what you wish for.
I think he knew, not me, I didn't know these people from a hole in the wall, but he knew that there was a staff at Grafton High School that said, what if we did this?
There's one advantage that you haven't touched on that I've seen myself having a kid go through the school, and that is that sometimes kids think they want to do something, and they feel very strongly about it, and they really want to pursue that. The worst thing that can happen is that a kid goes to a 4-year college, you're thousands of dollars in, and they realize, this isn't for me. I screwed up. And now they're in the hole, and they got to figure out how to pivot and how to transfer, how to find something. If they can figure this out earlier, then first of all, it gives them the confidence to succeed.
Right.
That they don't have to go through that. I made a mistake in a world with no net. I made the mistake in 8th grade or in 9th grade. I have a kid who wanted to be a vet, was convinced she was going to be a vet from the time she was real little. Went to all kinds of workshops and seminars and, was in the STEM club, and all of a sudden didn't want to be a vet anymore and was like, what do I do? And there really wasn't anything there for her to figure that out. Now, granted, that was 8th grade, but she figured it out on her own, and she's pushed forward, and she has goals and aspirations now. But the later that happens, the more at risk
More
those kids
challenging it is,
become for not being able, for lack of a better phrase, to make something of themselves, to set a new path, a new goal. So maybe they start on one of these pathways, and they find out, this isn't for me. I don't really want to do STEM, or I don't want to do communications. I'd rather try this. This is the time. Now is the time to try new things. And the more things we can offer, and that's why I'm so excited about the electives, the more things we can offer, the more they can explore and figure things out before they're picking college courses. I did have questions. Jen, did you have questions?
Yes.
All right, go ahead.
Kind of to stem from what you were talking about earlier with classes that can get transferred to all the other schools. On the other side, so my daughter's a freshman now in college, and what we found with her, she was at least able to, maybe she's not, she's not graduating earlier. But it's, what it did allow her is to leave more room for a double major or more minors, and it just kind of opened up more space in her schedule for the next 4 years as she started to map it. That was just kind of adding to that.
Right.
But I do want to say, I don't know, I kind of wrote a lot in here. So probably one of the things I think might want to highlight is what you have offered is something that we talked about in the past was having student agency. And I think you're allowing that, you're allowing them to choose the early college, the internships, the academic pathways. It's giving them some agency and just how they want their academic career to look. And I think that's great that we're offering it. And the more that we can offer it for them, the more flexibility that I think it will just benefit the students more so. So I think as we start exploring it more, I'd be curious to see how it pans out over the next year or 2 years. But I do like that we're thinking that way, and it's sort of like a long time ago. I forget what is that thing that we did, Jay? We were talking about student agency.
Need a little more.
Our strategic goals,
Yes,
and
yes,
it
yes.
kind of just encompasses what our goals were. And I think we're slowly, even if we weren't meant to going towards that, it is going towards what we wanted for our education in the school system in the end. So thank you. I just had one question about the semester grade reporting. I worked at one school where the college transcripts were just semester grade. They kind of just took the average of the quarter one, quarter two, and just gave a semester grade. What do they do here in Grafton? Does the transcript show quarter grades, or do they just average the semester grades, or is it, I'm not sure, I'm asking.
I mean, they accepted both last year. Obviously, the majority of our students had quarter grades, but we had 60 kids that didn't have a grade until semester one. So we freeze time for those students. And for those who it did impact, we obviously made sure that, you know what, you've got grades that are going to close, that we need to report out to colleges in the upcoming weeks. We had an extra safety net behind them to give them an extra boost to get what they need done. But that's how, we just talked to Hopkinton High School yesterday. Our guidance folks reached out to them because they've been doing semester grades for 15 years. They haven't been doing quarter reporting. And so that's what they do. For our seniors, there's a stop in time. We're able to communicate to higher ed where their academic standing is, but they understand that the hard stop is not until the end of the semester.
So it delays senioritis a little bit too, so.
Yeah, we don't see, they tell us it. They threaten that to us more than anything. I need senioritis, that's what I'm hearing. I don't have it, I need it for second semester. Need to change our schedule. They're not shy. What I love about the kids of Grafton, they're not shy in sharing what they think and what they want. That's kind of helping shape our programming, for sure. But you know what, Ms. Connolly, I want to thank the community too, the school committee and superintendent especially, for allowing us to take the chance. You talk about, we've talked about these things, and sometimes it's easy to say, oh, this isn't working after 30 days or 90 days or whatever it may be. We're taking calculated risks, and we're thinking, how are they going to handle that? And we want there to be bumps in the road, because we have to instill opportunities to build skills for recovery from failure. And recovery from failure is a skill that I want these kids to build, to strengthen before they leave their care. And yeah, the dad in me is coming out now and I used to see this in Mr. Pignataro last year, like the number of meetings that he was having with seniors around December, January, February, and they would pick up towards the end of the year. You're with them for a short period of time. You don't realize how fast it goes. And all of a sudden, they're adults, and they're gone. And we've created this bubble where you're encouraging failure, and you want students to learn from mistakes. But as parents, we're just not ready. We're not ever ready to really let go, right? So it's really making us increase the number of challenges at earlier ages while they're with us, and then incrementally increase those obstacles that, you know what, if it's going too easy for you, we're going to throw some roadblocks in your way, dude. So to see how you recover from that. Or if it's too much of a challenge, what obstacles are in your way that may not be fair? Let's level the playing field a little bit. It's part of our daily work.
Anybody else? I did have one question about the financial literacy class. Are you envisioning that as a full year or a half year?
I don't know. Sorry to be.
I could see the value in it being a semester class because I think you're going to get more kids through
Yeah,
it.
I probably, it's still in the incubator.
Okay.
But I see financial literacy and data analysis working off each other.
Yeah. Or, directed study half a year, or
Yeah,
QCC class half a year, and as a mom of a senior who is enrolled in a QCC English class in the spring semester, that was an exciting surprise email to get. By the way, was you took an AP English class last year and you got a 3, so you already have credit for QCC 101. Now you can take QCC 102, and we were like, wait, what? So hopefully.
So the benefit of that too is on that transcript, it will show that QCC credit. So 6 credits should transfer in.
Yep.
To their place of desire.
Yeah. And every school she's applied to so far, she's gotten it. So clearly
Excellent.
that's working out for her. I told her she just has to pass English next semester and you're good. Good to go.
And Madam Chair, that financial literacy could be both an elective and it could also fulfill that third-year requirement for mathematics if we package it with data analysis, we think. But we have to structure it correctly so that it meets the math framework standards.
Yep, that would be great. That'd be awesome. Laura?
I just have two, one, would that financial literacy class be open to adults?
Girl Scouts is open to
Anything's
adults, and we teach
possible.
financial literacy.
If we build it, they will come, right? So,
Right.
I mean,
I'm not saying
we are
anything.
working outside of our school clock hours and years, so.
And two, one other thing about, so if, let's say you take English 101 and 102, then you can skip those, right, in college, and you can move on to some of the more interesting English classes. So that's another advantage of taking those early, those classes here, is you can get to college and get into kind of the deeper, better, not that 101's not great, but just to get more into that deeper thing.
Or no English at all. That's what
Yeah,
I did.
depending on,
That's what I did.
depending on where you go, it
Oh, yeah.
may,
I
Go to
took it all in
WPI,
high
you're
school.
good.
I don't want to hear it.
it may remove that requirement to take that
Exactly,
course.
yeah, so then you can have more time to take the classes you really want to take, I think was my point. So, sorry, this is,
I think it's really interesting how many colleges strip out our weighting, because they figured out that all the schools are weighting differently. In some districts, an AP is a 5. In some districts, an AP is a 6. They strip all the weighting out when they get the transcripts, and they assign their own weighting. So that's how they're leveling the competitiveness for these kids. Because it's true. We could change our GPA structure anytime to be any number of things. And school districts are doing that to give their kids what they see as a leg up, but the colleges have figured that out. And I think that giving the kids the opportunity to show that they can challenge themselves and succeed, not just because it's worth more, but because it's something they're genuinely interested in, is something that sets our kids apart.
What the colleges have also figured out, and this is a good shopping time for parents and students, is that they need to hit their numbers, right? And enrollment is going down across the country. And we happen to be in a community where many families and kids want to go on to higher education. So it's like car shopping. You need to bring something of value to lower that sticker price. And if you're bringing AP and you're bringing early college credits to the table, that's one of the pieces that you can lower that sticker price. And across the country, the tuition discount rate is about 50%. You just have to be able to do your homework and bring value to the table. And with private colleges
they do want to
being-
see community service. All the schools want to see that. They want to see internships if you can get them, or some sort of work experience. Those are the things that are, being a varsity athlete is awesome, and that's great. And being in all of the theater shows ever is great. And they see that you're involved and engaged, but they want to see some sort of work experience element. Because we graduated a whole generation of kids that have never worked. And I don't know when that changed, but it's definitely an issue that they're seeing. When your first job is on a college campus as a junior in college, that's a problem. So, there's
I
my
hear
little
ya.
rant. There's my rant for the day, Laura.
okay, let's
Get
wrap
a
it up.
job. Anything else? Well, thank you very much.
Thank
you
you,
both.
folks.
Sure,
Thank you
we'll
for
all be
having us.
talking to you in lots and lots of meetings, but also on our
Sure.
own. Thanks for coming out tonight. We really appreciate it. Thanks for
For
your great
having
work.
us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Karen, thanks for trying to contain him.
Oh, Karen, I had one more question, and you just walked away.
Come back here.
Playwriting
Lot more than you
versus
already
screenwriting. Are they different or are they the same?
So that was me that put that out there. I don't know if I brought this mask wrong.
I'm just curious.
Those are
We
just
talked to
potential.
some
I
kids last
definitely
week.
see acting there, and I definitely see
Yeah.
production and design, but I just put that up there as placeholders. We're gonna need a full-time educator for
Right.
that position. And Mr. Trombley and I are working on kind of constructing, because we want to have an array of courses. We just don't want it to be about acting. We
Right.
want it to include all of the different elements that go into theater arts. So we'll learn more through the interview process, if we're able to get to that stage of, okay, what's a good, solid program? And it's not going to match some of the performing arts school,
Right.
like the Walnut Hill School and Natick. It's because it's not
You got
just.
one position, you can't
Yeah,
offer.
right.
Well, the reason
But
I
what
asked
can we
about
learn from schools
screenwriting
like
is
that?
that we had students come in last week who are interns at the TV station.
Mm-hmm.
And at least one, if not two of them, said that they were looking at pursuing screenwriting as a career. So I saw playwriting, but I thought I'd throw that out
The
there. that that
screenwriting can,
I don't know if they're
I
different.
mean, with
or the same.
documentary, it's so hot with kids right now,
Yeah.
documentaries. And that's a good thing. That's one of the positives that I see with my teenagers watching TV. Like, wow, you're actually trying to learn something rather
They
than
want to
watching
move on from
SpongeBob.
TikTok to,
Right. But if they
Full
can
length.
learn the background of that, I think that could be certainly influential to the screenwriting that you talk about. And we may even change that from playwriting to screenwriting.
About podcasts.
Ooh, that's good.
podcasting. Well, I don't know if people could do it without a
Write a
degree.
TikTok course. Come on, you can do it.
Better.
What?
Thanks, folks.
Goodbye.
Thank
Thank you
you.
very
Good
much.
night, thank you.
Oh, Karen, I'm just joking.
Stop,
Thanks very much.
it's making fun of me. All right.
Good night, thank you.
We don't have a district update tonight, right?
No.
Because it's not on the agenda. We'll move into future agenda / schedule planning. The only changes I had to this were, we moved CPAC from November 30th to January 11th, and I have confirmed that they will be here for that, January 11th.
Okay.
And then I want to do something about the, on the dates at the end, I want to do something about December 13th.
About when?
December 14 or 13?
I'm sorry, at the very end of the document, there's a list of dates for next year,
Oh, okay.
and I
Oh,
want to
that
try to
date.
avoid the concert week, if we can. So we'll,
All right, I'll reach out to Conservation. That's the group that uses this room that we kept
if
hitting
they'll
up
swap with
against.
us, we'll do the first week or the third week, or, and then if we don't need it, if we don't need it, we won't have the meeting.
I mean, the committee could be different by, I mean, there's a lot of changes that could be by December 13th.
But I appreciate you looking ahead and trying to book the room in advance, Jay.
My
I
pleasure.
appreciate it as well, 'cause
And at some point, you're going to give us the buildings and grounds update from November, correct?
Yes,
Okay.
that will be, it was going to be tonight. I'll do it whenever we meet next January 14th. Is it January 11th?
Okay. Does anybody else have anything?
no,
Your
my,
pen exploded.
my MASC pen exploded. Bastards.
Cheap pens. Anybody have anything else? Awesome. Moving along, we have no minutes.
Nope.
We have one warrant tonight.
Just trying to find it in the pack here.
I did not print it out.
Oh, it's
Oh.
on.
It's in the book.
It's in the, yeah.
Alright.
1 second.
You got it?
Go ahead.
Hmm?
Jen has it.
Whoever has
Oh,
it,
no.
whoever gets it first.
I'll go back to it.
It's a race.
When I get to page 25.
I'm not gonna get to it.
No, I'm not either, and I can't make the
You
motion, so I'm
you
not even
can
trying.
push it off too
All
if you
right,
want.
no, I
No, we
don't-
got it.
No, we're just,
I make a motion to pass, what is it? Warrant number 25 dated December 16th, 2021 for the amount of $713,318.53, or dollars and 53 cents.
Second.
Motion made and seconded, any discussion? Seeing none, we'll move to vote, all those in favor? Aye, unanimous? Okay, and we have preliminary FY '23 budget.
So I'm not going to do a presentation on that tonight. Anita and I did start to break down, and I provided that breakdown in your book, all of the different accounts. After we last met as a committee, I met with Evan Broussard, the town administrator. We had a great discussion. We talked about putting out a new timeline, which he did. He shared it with the committee. When we used to have December was basically all budget, and we'd ramp up prior to the break. And then in January, it was kind of going down the hill. That build-up, if you will, with all of the town information, hopefully, will take place in January and go into February going forward. So it won't be December and January. So I would expect that as of January 11th, that meeting will be, a good chunk of it is going to be going through the preliminary FY '23 budget. Hopefully, by that time, we have a little more of a sense of where the town stands in terms of what level of funding we would expect.
And we anticipate voting. It looks like the hearing is scheduled for the 25th of January. Is that still true?
Yeah, I changed, I should have mentioned that, I apologize, Amy.
Okay.
I moved the pieces, the budget pieces on the future agenda document to be in line with the town administrator's new timeline.
Okay.
So
Still
we may
on
still have some changes. I know he's trying to figure it out as well, but as it stands now, that's the plan.
Great. Great. Does anybody have any questions for Jay?
Not a question for Jay, just, I've heard something about a TRICOM meeting, or we don't,
We'll get to that.
oh, we'll get to that,
Yeah.
okay.
I have a report on that.
Okay.
There's been a development.
Okay.
If this meeting ever ends, I might get to go downstairs and
So
deal
we'll
with
talk
it.
about that in member reports?
Yes, I will.
Okay, great.
Well, thank you, Jay, and please let Anita know, give her our thanks, and we'll take a look at
Will
that.
do.
Policy.
We have one policy to present as a second reading tonight. This is the COVID staff vaccination policy. There was one very small change made from last week, which was just adding the Roman numeral 1, and then one slightly more significant edit, which was in response to clarifying that contractors who provide educational service and who work directly with students would be required to be vaccinated or test. And there was a concern that there were some contractors who don't, someone jump in here if I'm
Right.
missing something. There
I'm
was
happy to.
some discussion about, there was a concern that there were some contractors who don't interact with students, that we might not be able to get, that it would be a significant problem, but they're not closely working with students anyway.
Right.
So that was discussed, and we resolved that. I think if we just tweak the language a bit to make sure that all employees, regardless of whether they're with students or not, and then with respect to contractors, those who are providing educational service and working directly with students would be required. I did have one little, I think this went through a couple little edits. I wanted to suggest as part of this, in the write-up that you have, the staff in parentheses, that get moved to the third line after students, so we have the whole definition.
Oh, okay.
Staff.
Yeah, yep.
So it would read, this policy apply, so I'm looking at Roman numeral 1, which is highlighted for everyone. This policy applies to all existing and newly hired employees and staff, comma, substitute teachers, comma, and I'm saying the commas because they're significant, and contractors who provide educational services and who work directly with students, and then that's where we would see the staff definition, if
Okay. Yep, that makes
the
perfect
rest of my
sense.
committee agrees with that.
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay,
that's why I
Yeah,
okay.
sent it out.
need to make sure that gets. edited.
Regardless of whether.
Yeah,
or
no,
not the individual-
I edit up after
Oh,
these
okay.
meetings and send it over to Lynn for
But thank
posting.
you for adding the the reference there to the order at the bottom. We'll see if that changes at all.
So we still have and we talked about last time about this going into effect, would go into effect upon our vote, but they must demonstrate that they're fully vaccinated or start testing by January 3rd. So that would be when the staff would feel the effect from this policy. And we talked last time about hopefully making a decision on this at this December 14th meeting to give people time to get vaccinated, hopefully. But again, they can still get tested even if they're not, so.
I just clicked on the link and it says oops.
The link says oops.
I think there's an extra D in the link. I don't think it's showing up on the document.
Gotcha.
Oh, because it's splitting lines, that's why.
Yeah.
Okay.
The word download.
Download it. It just says, oops, we can't find that page. That was funny. Okay. All right. Well, I was shocked. I received no feedback, information, letters, complaints, praise, nothing.
I did.
Okay.
The only thing that has come up a few times is the whole once a week. I think people thought that was not enough time. I just want to stress again that this is at least, and I think Kristen and Jay are working on with the nursing staff as we've taught. I think it's people that didn't watch our meeting, didn't listen, just read the, headlines.
The article said weekly, but it's really at least
Which is
weekly.
fine,
Yeah.
but
yeah.
just to reiterate, and again, what Liz said so eloquently 2 weeks ago was just that this is, we're moving forward. We can still tweak and, we're doing the best that we can to keep everybody safe. And we've been doing, as we honored our nurses, I think a phenomenal job as it is. I do think it's only gonna get better as more people get vaccinated, as our kids are able to get vaccinated. Now we just have the preschool kids who still aren't able to. So we're hoping, as you said too, Amy, moving away from this. So I think this is a great start. It's a good compromise. We can't always get everything we want, as you said today too, in a perfect world, with enough time and resources, we can do everything. So I feel good about this policy. But yeah, that's at least, and if we can work it out,
Oh,
then
absolutely.
we'll do more. If we
Yeah.
can't, and if it's not working, if we're seeing people really sick, then we're gonna come back with the policy and we're gonna say, yep, 2 times a week or 3 times a week, we will. Not that I want people to get sick for us to change it, but
Right.
I'm gonna stop.
Yeah.
It's getting
Well,
late, I get
I
punchy.
mean, I look at that as procedural. I look at that's,
Sure.
that's up to Jay and Kristen to
Exactly.
figure that out.
The
And,
nurses.
we'll back up
Yep.
whatever
Yeah.
you guys decide to do. I mean, maybe 2 times a week isn't enough, but,
Right.
at some point,
It's-
we're gonna run out of these tests, so.
Right, and it's up, exactly, and I think you said that online too,
Yeah.
I mean, and I agree, procedure doesn't belong in policy, so that's why it was a generous, at least,
Yeah.
and giving.
This is the policy, the implementation and administration of the policy is up to,
Up to
the
them and our
administration.
amazing nursing staff, so,
Yeah.
yeah, so thank you, everybody, for your feedback.
and it sets the groundwork, like Laura said, we can always, if things change, if things get worse, we might revisit this and we might push the policy a little bit more, we might change the policy, and we reserve the right to do that. It's part of it's written in here, right in here, that we're going to specifically reserve that right, so.
Yep.
But I think this is a good start.
Agreed.
I think it's a great policy. I think, as we said last week, it's not as onerous, I guess, as what I've seen other districts. Is that even a word? We're taking kind of responsibility for the testing, which I think is something that a lot of districts are not doing. They're saying you just need to go test and bring us your test results. Well, that's great. Try getting a test appointment that you can rely on every week. It's getting harder and harder to do that. So I think this is a good solution. So thank you, Policy Committee. I realize how hard this was to do, and I think you've done a great job.
Thanks.
Any further, I'll take a motion and then we'll discuss.
I make a motion to accept policy GBGA1 staff vaccination as a second reading with the edits mentioned.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Thank you very much. We're in the home stretch now. Member reports. We're back on time.
I
Laura?
have a very quick one, Madam
Okay.
Chair. I had an ARPA meeting last night. They'll present to the select board, so I don't want to jump on anybody's toes, but we met with a couple of consultants that are going to come in and help us with however we want, if it's just with the process, with the filing of the paperwork, with reaching out to finding out what projects, helping us with community outreach, which is a big piece, but helping us kind of develop social media campaigns or surveys or things like that. We got two terrific candidates. The committee voted to recommend one, and it's up to the select board. They have to finalize that. And then we did get a couple questions about ARPA. So the ARPA committee is from the select board. It's not, I'm the representative of us, so I'm obviously trying to advocate for the schools. But it was an open process. We have 2 members at large, a member of FinCom, a member of school committee select board, Jay, Evan, and Mary. She's our financial director of the town, is on it. Everybody wants a piece of the pie, and that is why we are going to be doing a good community outreach program when we're ready, depending on what we decide. But ultimately, it is up to the select board, and how they're gonna spend the money. So I just wanted to be clear, because we're getting some random questions, and I don't know if maybe the community doesn't quite understand what the committee is. And there are very specific ways on how you can use the ARPA money. It's not just a blank check to the town. And if you have any other questions, you can reach out to myself or Peter Carlson, who is the chair of the ARPA subcommittee.
So I know the one school thing that's kind of the big item
Yeah.
is the GMS HVAC.
Yeah.
Are there other school things that qualify?
Yeah, there's tons. I think the other one that we were also pushing possibility, but if we get that HVAC, and that's a large portion of the money.
Right.
I would think that we would want
Hard to
to,
ask for more after that.
well, I would think we would want,
If we need something,
yeah,
Yeah.
which we'll always ask.
like, that's the thing, like, I think if it's
I think
a
one of the
nice
oth-
to have, then no.
The other
but-
thing was doing the auditorium at GMS as well. Because we could use that as a potential moneymaker for the town. It's obviously not in the best condition there.
So that's COVID recovery is what,
COVID
like,
recovery.
funding recovery is what
yeah.
that's kind of,
Right now, I mean, you pretty much said it, but everybody's going to put everything on the table
Yeah.
that will far exceed 5 million. So we're not, I was unable to make Monday's meeting,
Yeah.
but I don't believe we're at the point in terms of the committee,
Right.
even having everything on the table,
No,
never
we
mind
didn't
weighing
even-
them out.
We
I
didn't
knew there was
even,
a list, but I didn't know.
there's a very large list.
I've seen
There's-
it, I've seen a picture
Yeah.
of it.
And there's been a person who's been very loud about the HVAC system at the middle school and who's kind of dominated.
Jay?
No, dominated the
awesome.
discussion and was told that maybe she should listen more. So that we haven't gotten to hear all of the other.
You go, let go.
Well, it's been on our list for a long time, and we could never get there.
Yeah.
So this is the
I'm very
first time we
passionate about it,
could.
but also understanding that there are other needs in the town. But I
Not
think
as important as that.
the consultants will also help us, and we'll come to a good compromise.
I look forward to the consultants taking the tour and seeing the HVAC system. Are you gonna lead that tour, Laura?
Yeah, or I'll just go in a day when there's no heat. Oh, here's
Yeah.
your jacket.
It's just like every day.
Let me give you your jacket.
a
Open
very
over here.
cold
It's
day.
100 degrees. Take off your jacket.
When the system fails. Is there a deadline for us to spend the
5
money?
years.
Oh, okay.
There's
Oh.
5 years, but I think what we discussed yesterday, obviously in HVAC, like there's different ways on how we might do it. We might make the decision. I don't want to. Again, I don't want anybody to think that anything has been decided. It has not been decided. We're not going out. There's just been some questions, and we're public here because that's my job, right? And those meetings are public, so nothing there is confidential anyway. But nothing has been decided. And again, it's not really up to that we can advocate and we can present, but I don't believe it's up to the committee anyway. We're kind of an advisory committee. So we do have 5 years, but if we want to spend some of that money for the HVAC system, which is that Dr. Cummings presented 2 weeks ago, we hopefully would be able to get that done in the spring sooner rather than later, and then there'd be a large portion of the rest of the money that we could use for other things in town that are needed.
Yep.
So we have 5 years though.
Well, it sure beats going for a debt exclusion.
It does, yeah. Which is, yeah. So anyway, I don't want to keep I'm
That's okay.
doing what I said I wouldn't do,
You're
but
educating.
I'm trying to educate, and I'll stop talking. 'Cause I-
Anybody else have member reports before I do mine? Okay. At our last meeting, we talked about the request to convene the TRICOM, and Laura pointed out that we had actually decided at some point to create we being all three boards, a smaller version of the tri-boards. You're not getting 19 people plus staff in a room to talk about budget stuff. The select board discussed that last week. There was some concern about the fact that it's not really like official in any way. Nobody could find it in any minutes. There's no charge. So they drafted a charge, which they're discussing tonight. They may have already approved it. I gave feedback on the charge because it was vague in terms of membership. It did say 2 reps from each committee, but it didn't address staff. Like which staff would need to be there for non-voting members kind of thing. So I submitted just my personal feedback to Peter. He asked me if I could come to the meeting tonight, and I said, no, I cannot. So they're talking about that tonight, but they should approve it tonight, and then you guys will meet. So it'll be you, Jen, and Rahul in the new year. I think that Jay should be in there to kind of look at that kind of 5-year picture and how it's changed. And that's kind of what I mentioned to Peter, that needs to get on people's radars, because I feel like everybody's looking at next fiscal year. That's great. We need to plan for next fiscal year, but we need to look at the future as well. So that's,
Yeah, thank you, Amy, because I hate to say it, but I think it's really it's been my, I push this, so I'm really,
well, we also found out
Specific
because
about the charge?
because of your bringing that up, we realized that no one had taken minutes. The meetings were not all posted.
yeah, those were
So,
years
like,
ago.
well, no, but even the most recent ones.
Oh, the TRICOM meeting?
Yeah.
Sue Fiacco usually we have minutes for all the TRICOM meetings, the big TRICOM
They don't
meetings.
include any school committee involvement whatsoever. I read them. So that's a problem. But it'll be more formalized now. It's gonna be a real committee. It's a real assignment, Jen. You'll meet at least quarterly according to the charge.
Okay.
So, which I think is a great idea, to at least get in a room and touch base, and you can't do that with 19 people. You can't. So it's just to keep communication flowing. I think it's a great idea. So as I said at the top of the meeting, this is our last meeting of the calendar year. Want to wish everybody a safe and happy winter break. Enjoy the time with your family and your friends. I think we all deserve it. But be safe, mask up, get boosted if you can, so that we can reopen in January. Yeah? Anybody have anything else? We don't have correspondence. We don't need executive session. I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Wow, that was quiet. All those in favor of adjournment? Aye. Happy holidays, everybody. Thank you.